Even the wisest king who ever lived had a breaking point, and Solomon was no exception. At first glance, his life looks like a perfect story, a king chosen by God, blessed with unmatched wisdom, surrounded by wealth, power, and glory. But behind that greatness, there was a silent weakness, one that grew slowly over time, until it brought his kingdom dangerously close to collapse. Today, we are going to explore this extraordinary story in depth, from Solomon's rise to power to the decisions that changed everything. And as you watch, you might realize, this story is not just about a king. It's about choices, influence, and consequences. So if you enjoy powerful biblical stories like this, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because this story is one you won't forget. Solomon was the son of King David and Bathsheba, and from the beginning, his life was marked by destiny. But his path to the throne was far from peaceful. As King David grew old, the question of succession created tension inside the royal family. One of David's sons, Adonijah, saw an opportunity and tried to take the throne for himself. He gathered support, declared himself king, and for a moment, it seemed like he might succeed. But God had already chosen Solomon. Through the intervention of the prophet Nathan and Bathsheba, the truth was revealed, and David acted quickly. Before his death, he officially declared Solomon as king of Israel. This moment fulfilled a promise God had made years earlier. God had told David, "You have shed much blood and fought many wars. You will not build a house for my name. But your son, a man of peace, will build it." That son was Solomon. And even his name reflects that calling, Solomon, derived from peace. When Solomon took the throne, he inherited a strong kingdom, but also a great responsibility. And it was at the very beginning of his reign that something remarkable happened. In Gibeon, Solomon went to offer sacrifices to the Lord. That night, God appeared to him in a dream and said something incredible. "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." Imagine that moment. Unlimited power. Unlimited wealth. Anything he could ask for. But Solomon chose something completely different. He said, "I am like a child. I do not know how to lead this great people. Give me wisdom to govern and to distinguish between right and wrong." This response revealed the heart of a true leader. He didn't ask for riches. He didn't ask for long life. He didn't ask for victory over his enemies. He asked for wisdom. And that choice changed everything. God was so pleased with Solomon's request that he not only granted him wisdom, but also gave him riches, honor, and influence beyond any king before or after him. Solomon became known across nations as the wisest man on earth. One of the most famous moments that proved this wisdom was the case of the two women and the baby. Two women came before the king, both claiming to be the mother of the same child. There were no witnesses, no evidence, only their words. The situation seemed impossible to solve. But Solomon saw beyond the surface. He ordered that the baby be cut in half, with each woman receiving one part. It was a shocking decision, but it revealed the truth instantly. The real mother cried out, begging the king to give the child to the other woman, anything to save her baby's life. The other woman agreed with the division. And in that moment, Solomon knew. True love had spoken. The child was given to the real mother, and all of Israel stood in awe of the king's wisdom. But Solomon's greatness didn't stop there. He began one of the most ambitious projects in history, the construction of the Temple in Jerusalem. This was not just a building. It was the spiritual center of an entire nation, the place where heaven and earth would meet. Using the finest materials, cedar from Lebanon, gold, precious stones, the temple became a symbol of beauty, power, and divine presence. And the location made it even more significant. It was built on Mount Moriah, the very place where Abraham had once demonstrated his faith by being willing to sacrifice Isaac. The message was clear. This was a place of covenant, faith, and obedience. During Solomon's reign, Israel reached a level of peace and prosperity never seen before. Kings and queens from distant lands came to witness his wisdom. One of the most famous visits was from the Queen of Sheba. She traveled with a great caravan, filled with spices, gold, and precious stones, just to test Solomon with difficult questions. But he answered them all. Nothing was hidden from him. She was left amazed, not only by his wisdom, but by the greatness of his kingdom. It was a moment that showed the world the glory of Israel under Solomon. But at the height of his success, something began to change. Slowly, quietly, almost unnoticed, Solomon began to form alliances through marriage. He married women from different nations, Egypt, Phoenicia, and others. At first, this seemed like a political strategy, but it came with a cost. These women brought their beliefs, their traditions, and their gods. And over time, Solomon's heart began to drift. The same man who once asked God for wisdom began to compromise. He allowed the worship of foreign gods. Then he tolerated it. And eventually, he participated in it. The turning point came when Solomon built altars and temples for these idols, directly disobeying the God who had given him everything. It wasn't a sudden fall. It was a gradual decline, one decision at a time. And the consequences were inevitable. God raised adversaries against Solomon. Among them was Jeroboam, a man who would later play a crucial role in the division of the kingdom. The peace that once defined Solomon's reign began to fade. The unity started to crack, and the shadow of his choices grew heavier. After 40 years on the throne, Solomon died. He left behind a legacy of greatness, unmatched wisdom, incredible wealth, and the magnificent temple. But he also left behind a kingdom on the edge of division. His son, Rehoboam, took the throne. But he lacked the wisdom of his father. And under his rule, the kingdom split. The northern tribes followed Jeroboam. The southern tribes remained under Rehoboam. And just like that, the United Kingdom of Israel was no more. What once stood as a symbol of unity and strength became divided, all because of choices made over time. Solomon's story is not just about wisdom. It's about influence. It's about priorities. And most importantly, it's about how even the greatest can fall if they lose their direction. No matter how strong you start, it's how you finish that truly matters. If you made it this far, comment below. Wisdom is not enough without obedience. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful biblical stories like this. God bless you. Folded Hands Fire.